Hey everyone, with my last video being based on Logan Paul and Dylan Dan's boxing fight, it got me in the mood to watch more stuff about boxing and MMA. And one topic I'm really interested in is the topic of Israel Adensaya's decline, where recently he suffered a pretty bad loss to Sean Strickland, as well as him becoming more bitter, getting really arrogant about how incredible he is. This is also a video where I found out about how he got arrested for drunk driving, which is another fact that makes me really dislike him. So although he did start as one of the most loved fighters in the UFC, he has lost most of his fans with how he's changed, and this is a great video by TJ Loves Fights. It's really interesting if you want to know the whole history.
I swear, it gets harder and harder to like Israel Adesanya. The career of Israel Adesanya is an interesting one in that he seems to get everyone to like him, and then he does something so cringe, bad, or even heinous that it immediately makes you question why you liked him in the first place. And before the Izzy fans flood my comment section, let me tell you, I used to like Izzy a lot. I of course followed him during his insane rise to stardom and championship status, which we'll get into in detail, and stuck by him during his quote-unquote boring era.
That is true. I think Israel Adesanya is probably like the prime example of someone new that people instantly love. Because at the first look at him, you just kind of have like that kind of like nerdy aesthetic with him looking like, of course he's built, like he's fucking massive, right? But he does kind of look like the kid you would know in school that would be kind of a nerd. I mean, even if you look at pictures when he was young, he did look like similar to that. Not to mention his whole like anime obsession that really helped people like really love him a lot. Because if there's any way to instantly make someone immediately attached to you, is by liking anime. Even though I wouldn't say like the entire demographic of the UFC loves anime, if you can appeal to that small percentage that loves anime, then you would just immediately get more popular, because then that you get more attention, and that will slowly bleed out, you getting more fights and being liked more by other people.
Was and still am a frequent watcher of his YouTube channel, which I think is the best representation of Izzy, a much more genuine and real version of him, opposite of what he does on the mic. And it's not like I hate Israel Adesanya now, but it's just so hard for me to like him. And with the recent news of his driving under the influence, that for sure doesn't help his case. So today I didn't
actually see that. Oh my, that's actually off. What a piece of shit. At first I thought this video was going to be about like his recent loss to Strickland and his slight decline after his fight with like Alex Pereira, but I had no idea he actually like was driving while like drunk. That's pretty shit, yeah.
I hate Israel Adesanya now, but it's just so hard for me to like him. And with the recent news of his driving under the influence, that for sure doesn't help his case. So today we'll explore the ups and downs of Israel Adesanya, mainly focusing on his volatile likability and reputation to the fans, and what makes him so hard to like. Because of Izzy's recent actions, it's hard to remember Izzy's first and very electrifying championship run. Izzy was coming in as an extremely hyped prospect and was obviously known as one of the best kickboxers in the world, dominating in China, Glory, and I think everyone has seen this video by now, but he practically KO'd everyone in a series of 3 kickboxing tournaments and did it with ease. And as he made his transition to the UFC, a lot of people questioned whether or not he could keep his pace of high-level kickboxing in a world where high-level grappling existed. And those questions were quickly answered. In this early period in Izzy's career, you had his debut against Rob Wilkinson, where he showed striking dominance and an eventual finish, but also showed great takedown defense as well. This period also included the beautifully put technical destruction of Brad Tavares, followed by the highlight finish of Derek Brunson, where he knocked down Brunson multiple times before finally finishing him, followed by a passing of a torch fight against the legend Anderson Silva, which was relatively fun, but most importantly included this heartfelt moment between legend and up-and-comer. Then in the same year,
I was going to mention this now as well, it's also a great way to come into MMA as a very fast-paced striker, because even though grappling is very popular, if you only focus on that, you might not do as popular with the fans, because even though you might be winning fights, people don't always want to see like nice technical fights. They kind of want to see like more violent, energetic stuff, because that is like what appeals to them most, especially with boxing around. You do need to like appeal to like everyone as well. So it is a good thing that he made like a really good transition into MMA, like being able to balance both his talent with kickboxing and being able to like learn grappling as well. That was good.
Here Izzy would have 2 all-time performances, starting with his back and forth war with Kelvin Gastelum, which everyone has seen by now, I hope. But this fight included that legendary 5th round where it looked like whoever won that round would win the fight. And before the round started, Izzy said he was prepared to die and came out this round dominantly knocking down Kelvin and pulling ahead to win this fight and get that interim belt. Then the fight right after, Izzy would unify the belts with his fight against Robert Whittaker, and in my opinion, this might be the greatest attaining of the championship belt since Conor against Eddie Alvarez, at least in terms of pure confidence and excitement. Izzy came into hostile territory in Australia like a fucking Jabberwocky, dancing with a coordinated crew, and put on a show, knocking down Robert early in this fight at the end of the first, and then putting out Robert for good in the second with a sniper left hook to Robert's jaw. And so now we get
Yeah, that's one of the great things about him, at least in the beginning of his career, is that he really knew how to put on a show. But not only know how to, but he actually put it off. Because not only like was the beginning really good, the whole choreographed dance with his crew, which was kind of neat, you know. And also like, yeah, just incredible strikes during the actual match. There's nothing worse than like putting on like a show bossy intro, making it seem like you're incredible, and then yeah, do shit in the round. But no, he did both. And that's one of those rare occasions where everything lines up perfectly to, yeah, one of the most iconic moments in UFC history.
to this point. This is by far the highest point of Izzy mania and likability. He was putting on amazing striking performances, was equally an exciting performer outside the cage, and was generally well liked by everyone. And I gotta mention it, but his love for anime just propelled him even further. I'm not a big anime guy, but Izzy being the quote-unquote main character to an anime was a big sell on the internet for sure, and saw a lot of "he's one of us" type comments in every Izzy video.
100%.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Izzy was really the first guy to really do the YouTube thing. He had and still has a well-produced YouTube channel that detailed not only his training, but his genuine personality and life outside of it, which served to make him more likable. Then you get this weird in-between stage of Israel Adesanya right before people started to not like him, but we're not quite there yet. He had his first championship defense against Yoel Romero, which obviously became a very boring fight, but then he would follow that up with a second title defense against Paulo Costa, where he picked him apart with leg kicks and then eventually stunned Apollo with a left hook and then finished him on the floor. Then you have that quote-unquote side mission where Israel Adesanya went up to 205 to try to get the belt from Jan, but was simply too small and was out-wrestled and outmanned really in this fight. And I don't know what happened to Izzy in that side.
I guess you could say like that's a slightly arrogant move to move up in weight class. But in his offense, he just kind of have like the build to, you know, do better because of how tall he is. It would be worse if he was shorter, but no, he's quite tall for like a UFC fighter.
But he would come back with no excitement at all and started the boring era. And this would start with his middleweight return with a rematch against Marvin Vettori that really had no highlights other than this. Then a second fight with Robert Whittaker that on paper should have been way more fun than it turned out to be, but ended up being pretty uneventful. Then finally, Izzy's magnum opus in this era, a fight against Jared Cannonier that was hyped up by Izzy with the whole anime thing, then the Undertaker thing.
I haven't seen that. Oh, the Undertaker's part. Oh, god damn. His spirit, he's a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve, and I feel like his spirit, he brings it forth, but so do I. That's why, I mean, all the things I do, the manga, the anime dancing, the character, the pose, it's all me embodying myself and my own fighting spirit and my own mana, spiritual energy within me. Yeah, that part, that's what I think is a very foreshadowing on like how hard he would dive into like that whole anime character, because it was good in the beginning because, you know, everyone was like, oh my god, this guy, he's not scared to show that he loves anime, but he definitely started like really gearing towards it the more popular he got. Because I think he's one of those people that loves it so much, he starts to get like that cringy personality become a part of him, which just, it's embarrassing to see from like a second perspective.
And then nothing happened in this era. A fight against Jared Cannonier that was hyped up by Izzy with the whole anime thing, then the Undertaker thing, and then the shit talk and promise of him showing out, and then nothing happening in that fight. And I think what really exacerbated his boring title during this time was that his performances had to follow up amazing co-main events. His fight against Vettori followed an amazing crowning performance of Brandon Moreno choking out Davison Figueiredo. His fight against Robert Whittaker followed the shocker of Tai Tuivasa knocking out Derek Lewis, who I still think sold a KO, by the way. I think he just gave up right here. And then finally, his fight against Cannonier had to follow the all-time beatdown of Volk versus Holloway, where we saw Volk really pull away from the featherweight division. I just remember watching these events in bars and seeing everyone in the room go from extremely excited to absolutely dejected when Izzy had to close the show.
Yeah, imagine that's awful, because even from like the managers, even from the people who manage the UFC, they have to be like really pissed off because they spend so much money and planning on making a perfect like title card, and when people see how disappointed they are, because like they were expecting like the last fight to be massive, only to be less interesting than the fights before it. I imagine that makes him really displeased with Adensaya. So yeah, he probably lost that behind the scenes influence as well from other people matching UFC.
Time he also dropped the incredibly horrible Frozen like Elsa line, and I'm going to do a TikTok dance on your grave line, which, Jesus Christ. So by this time, the fans were starting to talk.
No,
Izzy was
done yet,
starting to get that Mayweather effect, in which people weren't tuning in to watch Izzy win. They were really tuning in to see if Izzy was finally going to lose. And well, the people wouldn't wait that long. I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain this event in detail, but Izzy would meet his longtime arch nemesis in Alex Pereira, and Alex would continue his streak of beating Izzy by KOing him late in the 5th round with a devastating left hook, followed by a series of fight-ending strikes. And yes, the hate for Izzy at the time was pretty high, but I think it was more so the story of Alex being Izzy's biggest hater that took the attention of the fans, but still, the likability of Izzy really started to fizzle here. Then we come to...
I kind of disagree, because I feel like a lot of people are really drawn to like, the underdog story. So Adesanya kind of had like that small story after he lost. When Pereira got signed to the UFC, and it wasn't his first fight, it was his second fight, because he lost his first fight, but this is like return into MMA. It was meant to be with Adensaya, who was a champion. Yeah, that was massive. Like everyone would say like how much he hates him. So much so that he would actually change like a different sport just to like beat him in that, which was pretty insane. So yeah, I think he kind of beat that like boring phase by showing like he could actually lose, which I feel like a lot of people were like, oh my god, finally something interesting, and they were like willing to support him. However, I do feel like some people moved from supporting him to Pereira, because he also had like a smaller underdog story. And not to mention, he actually looked like vicious, with that cold stare, looking like he wanted to fucking kill him. Plus as well, the fact like it was always like entertaining throughout the entire match. It wasn't like a Romero fight where like it lasted very long, because they barely did anything. No, they were both put like 100% in, and it was just like, it was chaos the entire time, until, you know, the 5th round where it really did feel like pure luck, where he was able to like land that punch in, and Christ, it was just insane.
To a nice pendulum swing back to the likability column for Izzy. Just when it looked like Izzy was done, literally and metaphorically, he comes back with a nasty double right hand off the fence and a pretty sweet celebration, I'm not gonna lie. Though most important to this video, he had a great post-fight interview in which he wanted people to feel the happiness he felt at this moment, a moment he proved a lot of haters wrong, and it really felt like we saw a genuine side of Izzy behind the mic. But this was short-lived, because quickly we would go back down again. I detailed the entire beef of Dracus du Plessis and Izzy, but essentially Dracus called himself the true African champ if he were to take the belt. Izzy didn't take too kindly to those words and threw some of his own words at the post-fight interview of Dracus beating Whitaker. And then we get to an all-time low.
Yeah.
Sean Strickland, the plus 350 underdog, the guy who already beat Izzy in the last press conference they were in together, the guy that no one thought had a chance to beat Izzy in the cage, shocks the world and not only drops Izzy for the first time, but beats Izzy at his own game, arguably for every single round. This might be, in my opinion, the most embarrassing loss of all time, because an underdog didn't just beat the champion like all the other all-time underdog performances, but this underdog technically destroyed the champion. And speaking of dogs, ooh, this is a pretty bad one, obviously. This plummeted Izzy's likability, and I won't talk about it in detail here, of course, but this was a really horrible look. And if you couple this with his embarrassing loss to a guy like Sean Strickland, this was not only one of the most embarrassing losses of all time, this was one of the most embarrassing weeks for any fighter ever. And I really personally didn't like how Izzy took this loss. He didn't talk in his press conference after the loss, which in my opinion, you gotta be talking in the press conference, win or lose. I think that's just a respect thing for the fans, and that's just a respect thing for everybody in the sport.
Yeah, that just looked like a crybaby move, like immediately not saying shit. I haven't seen the clip that he showed there for a split second, but I think I'll put it on just in context.
Win or lose, I wasn't gonna say much anyway, but right now I lost tonight to the better man on the night, and I just want to go with people, be with people who care about me, my team, and they're waiting for me, so I'm gonna do that. But I will leave you in the capable hands of a man who is much smarter than me. I'll admit this on worldwide national media. I'll leave it with Eugene Behrman. He'll handle this for the first time. I want to go chill, have some breakfast, build my family, and yeah, till next time.
Yeah, I guess I couldn't find the full clip. I guess this short was probably the best, out there. But yeah, I guess he did say a few words, but that barely helped at all. I understand that he's still devastated by the loss, but by him immediately leaving, it does have like a bad look on him and makes him look like more whiny and like the fact like he couldn't accept the loss. So instead of like trying to talk with people about how he felt, yeah, he just wanted to like fucking leave. And I'm sure he didn't like chill out with anyone. He probably locked himself in his own room, just fucking pissed off.
And I feel like I'm kicking a man that's down, but all of these things are kind of self-inflicted, so I don't feel that bad. But weeks following his loss to Sean Strickland, we'd find out that Israel Adesanya would plead guilty to drunk driving for an incident that happened back in August 19th. And man, when it rains, it truly does pour. I mean, the likability for Israel Adesanya has never been this low, and it seems like every time he does something great and makes everybody like him, he does something so bad that it just brings that likability right back down. And right now we're in an all-time low for Izzy, but I truly, truly hope he can get back up. But anyways, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, that was a good video. However, I do disagree because I don't really care about what happened to him after. Because yeah, after his last two losses, oh no, more like his loss with Strickland and his win against Pereira, the whole situation was pretty embarrassing. Not to mention, I will say this, I do like the combination of those two guys, those two fighters, because you have one guy, Adesanya, who loves anime, and then you have this like hillbilly kind of guy, Strickland, and who just kept on making fun of him for liking anime. I'm pretty sure I remember there's one moment where I haven't seen it, but I heard people talk about it, where he actually said, "I'm not gonna get beat by a guy who jacks off to hentai." It's something similar to around that, but that is pretty fucking funny.
Bro, your Pornhub is just filled with cartoons, bro. No man that beats off the cartoons is gonna beat me.
Bro, trust me.
Calm down.
I can tell you what. If you win this fight, when we fight, I knock you out. I'm gonna do a TikTok dance over your grave.
But in terms of like his win against Pereira, I think that was a moment that I realized like I don't like him at all. Cause even though it was like a huge moment with that whole second round where it looked like he was losing, and just by pure miracle he managed to get that one hit that gave him enough time to pursue and get more aggressive on Pereira, and that's how he beat him. But what makes me hate him so much is what happened after, where Adesanya like went to turn to like Pereira's kid, pointed at him and like mimicked him by falling on the ground. Cause I'm sure we all know the backstory behind that, where like Pereira did the same shit. Oh no, his kid did it to him. We got beat by Pereira, so he tried to like mimic him again. And his son was crying at the sight of his dad losing, understandably. And the fact like Adensaya didn't care about that and still chose to make fun of him, that is like something you expect a kid to do, as opposed to like a grown-ass man who should be happy that he just won, as opposed to like immediately making fun of someone's kid. And Jesus Christ, yeah. Even though in the post-fight conference he did say like he's happy that's all over and he doesn't really have any hate towards Pereira, you can definitely tell that he only said that to make himself look good, because he was definitely bitter after that whole like so many years of them fighting and always losing to him. And I understand that he's happy, but you can see a small glimpse of him being like a sore loser. Oh, and actually mentioned that whole line where like that was his story, but it's my story, which is history. That part was so fucking cringy as well. But to me, that was when I realized like I think like all the success got to his head. It was kind of like an Anthony Joshua mentality where you act really humble, but then the second you lose or you've had like a couple losses, this ugly side of you starts to like come out and you just don't give a shit about respect or anything. But Christ. And honestly, overall, I really don't care like how he's gonna come back. I think he's one of those people that over time in history or in the future, people are going to use him as an example of someone who's like a superstar, but now due to like the repeated losses, barely has any motivation left to go back to like being a champion. And plus, I respect Strickland more as an underdog, because he's one of those people that doesn't boast about how good he is. He just accepts the fact that he won, and he doesn't put up this whole show like, oh, people used to bully me. I have a sad backstory, therefore I'm gonna try as hard as possible to be the champion. No, he just fought good and he won, which I like that more, but in general, oh god, and that whole like dog fetish part of the story, that part was just embarrassing as well. God, it's disgusting as well, god.